Hello student, today I will be talking about how you can solve the 40 questions of AMCET 2020 which is slated to be held in the month of September, second week. Okay, so let's start. So if you see chemistry, in 11th you have 14 chapters and in 12th you have 16 chapters. So generally you have to study physical chemistry, inorganic chemistry and organic chemistry. So in this video I will discuss you how you can target at least 30 questions in the given time, like 20 days or whatever odd days are left. You can target at least 30 questions by just following some simple rules. Like, what are the rules which I am going to give you? First, if you see structure of atoms, this chapter, so you have to target 3-4 topics for this chapter. Like, one is the Bohr's model, particularly the formula En is equal to minus 13.6 Z square by N square electron volt per atom. Radius formula Rn equals to 0.53 N square angstrom upon Z, and velocity N is equal to 2.16 into 10 to the power 6 Z by N meter per second. So these are the three formula in which you can solve direct questions. Next, coming to this is photoelectric effect. So photoelectric effect, just simple formula you have to remember: energy minus work function equal to kinetic energy, or H nu minus nu naught equal to kinetic energy, or in terms of wavelength you have to remember HC 1 by lambda minus 1 by lambda naught equal to kinetic energy. So based on this, one question is likely to be asked. Next topic important is Heisenberg uncertainty principle and de Broglie equation. So if you see de Broglie equation, simple formula if you know, you will be able to handle the questions, like lambda equal to h by p, lambda equal to h by mv, lambda equal to h by 2m kinetic energy root under, or lambda is equal to h by 2m ev, where v is the potential difference. You can also write 150 by v root under. This v is potential difference in angstrom, or you can write 12.27 upon root under v in angstrom. This is the formula of the wavelength. So using this simple formula you will be able to handle the question which will be asked in AMCET 2020. Now one more concept is there, Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which gave the idea about the orbital. So delta x into delta p greater than equal to h by 4 pi, and the last but not the least, the concept of quantum numbers. So there are 4 types of quantum numbers: principal quantum number, azimuthal quantum number, magnetic quantum number and spin quantum number. So if you are able to solve question on these 4-5 topics, you will be able to solve the question of AMCET 2020 which will be asked from atomic structure or structure of atom. Now moving to periodic classification. So here 4 topics you have to master: atomic size, including the isoelectronic species. Like if you are asked sodium plus, magnesium 2 plus, aluminum 3 plus, Si4 plus, C4 minus, N3 minus, O2 minus, F minus, which is the largest, so you can easily figure out that aluminum Si4 plus will be the smallest, then Al3 plus, then magnesium 2 plus, then sodium plus, then F minus, then O minus, O2 minus, then N3 minus, then C4 minus. So here ionic size is ionic size is inversely proportional to Z by E, where Z is the atomic number, E is the number of electron. Next topic, if you want to solve, that will be based on ionization enthalpy. Ionization enthalpy, it is the minimum amount of energy required to remove the most loosely bound electron from a gaseous isolated atom. If you can keep this one in mind, ionization, first ionization energy of nitrogen is more than first ionization energy of oxygen. Ionization energy of first ionization energy of beryllium will be more than first ionization energy of boron. Apart from this, they can ask you in increasing order. For that, you need to have a idea of periodic table where the elements are situated in which group and in which period. Next topic which is likely to be asked is electron gain enthalpy. Electron gain enthalpy, and you must know that the electron gain enthalpy of chlorine is more negative than the electron gain enthalpy of fluorine. Because of small size in fluorine, there is more inter-electron repulsion. So if you see the value, it is 348 kilojoule per mole, and it is minus 328 kilojoule per mole. That means chlorine has the highest electron gain enthalpy in the entire periodic table. So, and the last but not the least, you have to keep in mind electronegativity. Electronegativity, it is the ability of an atom to pull the shared pair of electron towards itself in a covalent molecule. Fluorine has the maximum electronegativity, then oxygen, then nitrogen and chlorine, then bromine, then iodine, and then carbon and sulfur is almost same, and then phosphorus and hydrogen is almost same. So fluorine is 4 in the Pauling scale, oxygen is 3.5, nitrogen, chlorine is almost 3, bromine is 2.8, iodine is 2.6 to 2.5, carbon, sulfur is 2.44, phosphorus is 2.1, and hydrogen is 2. So if you can keep this concept in your mind, this 4 concept, the atomic size including the isoelectronic species, here you can keep in mind one more thing, that the van der Waals radius is greater than the metallic radius or crystal radius, and which is greater than the covalent radius. So you have to briefly see what is van der Waals radius, what is metallic radius, and what is covalent radius. Metallic radius is also called crystal radius. So keeping the concept of these 4 topics, you will be able to solve the question based on periodic classification. In case of chemical bonding, you have to have a little bit idea of resonance. What is resonance? What is resonance energy? Which is more stable resonating structure? And you have to have a knowledge of Vesper theory. Mostly every year question is asked from Vesper theory. Like suppose they asked you the shape. Suppose BF3, BCl2, CH4, PCl5, SF6, IF7, XEF4, XEF6, XeOF4, XeO3. So on the basis of Vesper theory, if we try to predict the shape of the molecule, it is linear, it is trigonal planar, it is tetrahedral, it is trigonal bipyramidal, it is octahedral, and it is pentagonal bipyramidal. We see that in this molecule there are no lone pairs. So regular geometry they have, pentagonal bipyramidal. If we focus our attention here we find that one or more number of lone pairs are there, which changes the shape. So XeF4 is square planar, it is square planar. If you know that xenon has 8 valence electron, so 8 minus 4 is 4, 4 upon 2 is 2. So 2 lone pair here we have. So number of lone pair is also being asked. Here if you see xenon has 8, it forms 6 bonds, so 1 lone pair it has. It is distorted octahedral. It is distorted octahedral. It has 1 lone pair. And if you see this XeOF4, here oxygen forms 2 bonds, and so it also has 1 lone pair, and the shape is square pyramidal. The shape is square pyramidal with 1 lone pair. If we see XeO3, it is similar to ammonia. It is a pyramidal molecule with 1 lone pair. So it is pyramidal with 1 lone pair. So these are the important questions which can be asked from Vesper theory. Now moving to hybridization part. So hybridization. So hybridization they can ask you from organic as well as from inorganic compound. They can ask you lone pair, they can ask you the bond angle. So hybridization, suppose organic compound, then simple trick you have to remember sp3 minus number of pi bond. So if you have suppose butadiene, 1,3-butadiene, so all carbons are sp2 in butadiene. This is also sp2. This is also sp2. This is also the sp2. Also all carbon in butadiene, 1,3-butadiene is sp2. Suppose they ask you what is the hybridization of benzene, carbon in benzene, so it is sp2. If suppose they ask you what is the hybridization of different carbon in this molecule, it is called tetracyanoethene. So if you know that cyanide has a triple bond, then it is sp, and this is sp2. So all the cyanides are sp. And here if you want to count the number of sigma and pi, it is 9 sigma and 9 pi. If you want to count the number of sigma and pi bond in benzene, it is 12 sigma and 3 pi. So hybridization organic is very easy, sp3 minus number. If you see only carbon-carbon single bond, then it is sp3. If you see one double bond, then it is sp2. If you see one triple bond, then it is sp. Suppose in allenes they have asked question like this. So here it is also sp2, it is also sp2, but this carbon is sp because it is surrounded by 2 pi bond here. So these are allenes. So in allene the central carbon is sp, not sp2. So if you keep this in mind, plus I will be discussing this for inorganic compound also, so you can easily solve the hybridization question. Suppose they ask you hybridization of methane. So carbon is forming 4 bonds, so it is sp3. Suppose BF3. Boron is forming 3 bonds, so it is sp2. And there is no lone pair here. Suppose ammonia. Nitrogen has one lone pair, 3 bond pair, so 1 plus 3 is 4. So still it is sp3. Shape changes from for ammonia, it is pyramidal. Suppose water. Oxygen is able to form 2 bond and 2 lone pair is there, so it is also sp3. Here 2 lone pair, 2 plus 2 bond pair is there. Here 1 lone pair plus 3 bond pair is there. Here 3 bond pair is there. Here 4 bond pair is there, no lone pair. Suppose they ask you about PCl5. So phosphorus has 5 valence electron, it is forming 5 bonds, so it is sp3d. It is called trigonal bipyramidal. It has equatorial as well as axial bonds. Axial bonds are larger due to more repulsion. So if you see the structure, this bond is 240 picometer, whereas this bond is only 202 picometer. So this is trigonal bipyramidal. So like this, more compounds they can ask the hybridization. So I am giving you a small trick which will be helpful to you. So the compound that will suppose total valence electron less than equal to 8, then you divide by simply 2. So suppose methane is there. So valence electron in carbon is 4 and hydrogen is 1. 1 4 4. So it is total 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 is sp3 tetrahedral. 109 degree 28 minutes. 109 degree 28 minutes, and it is tetrahedral because there is no lone pair in methane. Suppose if you want to calculate for higher molecules, total valence electron ranges from 9 to 56. You divide by 8, and remainder you should divide by 2. Remainder by 2. Suppose you have been given XCF6, suppose. So xenon is 8 and 7 6 are 42. So it is 50. 50 cannot be divided by 8. But 8 6 are 48. So 6, but 2 is the remainder. So remainder must be divided by 2. So it is 1. So it is 6 plus 1, that is total 7. So it is sp3d3. Okay. And the shape of the molecule is distorted octahedral. Distorted octahedral. So if you want to see the structure of xenon hexafluoride, the structure is like this. So here is one lone pair. So it is distorted octahedral. Distorted octahedral. So using this simple 3-4 tricks, which I have given 3 tricks: total valence electron less than greater than equal to 8, total valence electron ranging from 9 to 56, you will be able to solve the question based on hybridization. The next important topic which generally the question definitely comes is molecular orbital theory. Molecular orbital theory. MOT. So particularly MOT, the question that is asked is how to write. Suppose for hydrogen you are writing the configuration. So sigma 1s2. Bond order is number of bonding electron minus number of anti-bonding electron by 2. So 2 minus 0 by 2, that means 1. It has no unpaired electron, so it is diamagnetic. It is diamagnetic and it has a bond order of 1. That means hydrogen has a single bond. Suppose if we want to do for helium 2, so it is 4 electron. So 4 electron, sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2, and here Nb is equal to Na. Whenever Nb is equal to Na, the bond order is 0. Molecule does not exist. Molecule does not exist. So I am giving you one trick which will be helpful for your entrance exam, particularly AMCET, NEET, IIT. Definitely bond order question comes. So keep it in mind. Bond order is directly proportional to bond dissociation energy, directly proportional to bond energy, directly inversely proportional to bond length. So generally the question based on bond order, bond length generally comes in exam, plus how to know the bond order, which species has equal bond order. Okay, so based on this I am giving you one triangle mountain formula which will be helpful for you. So let's see. So if you can remember this mountain formula, 14 is equal to 3, 15 is equal to 2.5, 16 is equal to 2, 17 is equal to 1.5, 18 is equal to 1.0, 19 is equal to 0.5, and 20 is equal to 0. Similarly, 13 is equal to 2.5, 12 is equal to 2, 11 is equal to 1.5, 10 is equal to 1, 9 is equal to 0.5, and 8 is equal to 0. So from 8 electrons to 20 electron, this formula is valid. This is called total electron and this is called bond order. Suppose if you want to know for nitrogen, so total electron and bond order. So I am just showing you few molecules which will be helpful for you. So total electron in case of N2 is 14, and in 14 we are seeing that bond order is 3. Suppose in O2 we want, so O2 case it is 16, so 16 we are seeing that it is 2, so it has a double bond. If we want to see for Cn minus means carbon is 6 and nitrogen is 7, 6, 7, 13, 13, for every minus charge you have to add 1 electron, so 14, so it will be 3. Similarly, if you go for CO is 6 plus 8, 14, so it is also 3. Okay, so you can write like this. Suppose if you want to know about N2 plus, so N2 plus is 14 and plus 13 electron, what is the, so 2.5, so it has 2 bond plus 1 partial bond, so that is called 2.5. Suppose O2 2 minus peroxide ion, so O2 is 16 and 2 electron extra, so 18 it has a single bond. Suppose if we want to know for F2 has also 18 electrons, so it is also 1. So in case of isoelectronic species, they have equal bond order. So keeping this mountain formula in mind, you will be able to solve from 8 to 20 electron. So easily you can do. Suppose if you are asked He2 plus, so it has how many electrons? 3 electrons. So 3 electron means sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s1. That means bond order is 2 minus 1 by 2, that is 0.5. That means it has a partial bond. That means the species He2 plus exists. Suppose if we want to do He2 minus, that means it has 5 electrons. So it is sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2, sigma 2s1. So bond order is, this is bonding electron, 3 minus 2 by 2, that is 1 by 2, that is 0.5. This species also exists. So helium, He2 minus, He2 plus all exist, but helium does not exist, which I have shown you with. So keep in mind this molecular orbital theory. If they ask you for O2, how to write the configuration, then you can write sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2, sigma 2s2, sigma star 2s2, sigma 2pz2, pi 2px2, pi 2py2, pi star 2px1, pi star 2py1. So due to presence of unpaired electron in antibonding molecular orbital, O2 is paramagnetic. So the paramagnetic nature of O2 was explained by molecular orbital theory, but it was not explained by valence bond theory. So that you have to keep in mind. So O2 is paramagnetic. So it is able to attract iron fillings, iron pieces. So due to, and bond order if you want to see, it will be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 10 minus 6 by 2, that is 4 by 2. So oxygen has a double bond, which you can easily see. So it has a double bond. So O2 molecule is paramagnetic. It has a bond order of 2, and molecular orbital theory is able to explain the paramagnetic nature of oxygen. So if you keep this much, you will be able to solve the question based on chemical bonding. Moving to other topic. So now seeing the stoichiometry. So stoichiometry, what you have to remember, that you have to know what is significant figure. So you must know what is significant figures. Suppose they are asking in Avogadro number, what is the number of significant figure? So it will be 4 significant figure. Suppose they ask you the number of significant figure in this, so it will be having 5 significant. Suppose they ask you 5.000, so it will be having 4 significant. Suppose they are asking 5.0, so it will be 2 significant figure. Suppose they are asking you 1.0000, so it will having 5 significant figure, because after decimal the zeros are significant. So they can ask you question based on significant figure. Apart from this, they can ask you question based on limiting reagent. So a reagent which is totally consumed during the reaction is called a limiting reagent. So like magnesium plus sulfur give magnesium sulfide. If you take 2 gram magnesium, 2 gram sulfur, what is the amount of magnesium sulfide form? So first you have to divide by the atomic mass to get the mole. So it is 1/12, it is 1/16. That means sulfur is less. So sulfur is the limiting reagent here, and magnesium, it will be left over, so it is called the excess reagent. And what is the amount of magnesium form, magnesium sulfide form? 1/16 into mass 24 plus 32. So if you calculate this, you will get 3.5 grams. So the amount of magnesium sulfide formed is 1/16 mole, or we can say 3.5 gram of MgS. And sulfur is here the limiting reagent, and magnesium is the excess reagent. So next is a little bit of mole concept you need to know. Mole concept, how to find mole. So mole is the weight by atomic weight or gram atomic mass. Mole is given weight by gram molecular mass. Mole is volume in liter by 22.4 liter per mole. This is for gases. This is for molecules, this is for atoms, this is for gases at STP, because any gas irrespective of its nature has a volume of 22.4 liter at STP. Number of mole is equal to total particles. These particles can be atoms, ions, molecule, or anything upon Avogadro number. Avogadro number you have to remember, that is 6.022 into 10 to the power 23. With this you will be able to solve the question based on mole. Suppose they are asking number of particles. So number of atoms, ions, molecules, you have to simply write mole into Avogadro number. Suppose they are giving you find number of moles in 1.5, number of particles, number of potassium atom, chromium atom and oxygen atoms in 1.5 mole of potassium dichromate. So if they ask you like this, then potassium atom will be 1.5 into 2, because atomicity of potassium here is 2, into Avogadro number. So it will be 3 into Avogadro number. Similarly for chromium also this will be similar, because chromium is also same as potassium, so it will also be 3 into Avogadro number. If you want to calculate for oxygen atom, then it will be 7 into, simply you can write 1.5 into 7 into Avogadro number, so that means 10.5 into Avogadro number. This way they can ask you the question based on number of particles. Generally every year in entrance exam they ask question on molarity. So molarity is the number of moles of solute dissolved in 1 liter of solution. It is temperature dependent. You can use some other formula also. Molarity equal to percentage into D into 10 upon gram molecular mass. So this formula will also be very handy for you to solve. Molarity equation is M1 V1 equal to M2 V2. If you want to simplify this, then you can write molarity is weight of solute by molecular mass of solute into, if volume is given in milliliter, then you have to divide by 1000, that will go up. So this way you can find out the molarity also. Suppose if you want to know normality is number of gram equivalent of solute divided by volume of solution in liter. Solute by divided by volume in liter of solution. Normality equation is N1 V1 equal to N2 V2. So you can write normality equal to molarity into N factor. Similarly, if they ask you about molality, so molality is denoted by small m, so molarity is denoted by capital M. It is temperature dependent, it is temperature independent. So it is given by number of moles of solute dissolving 1 kg of solvent. 1 kg of solvent, keep this in mind. So normality is also temperature dependent. Normality is also temperature dependent. Now coming to mole fraction. So mole fraction of A is mole of A by mole of A plus mole of B. Mole fraction of B is mole of B by mole of A plus mole of B. And sum of mole fraction of all the component in a solution is equal to 1. So question based on this can be asked. Sometime question based on part per million is also, or part per billion is also ppm. So weight of solute by weight of solution into 10 to the power 6. If it is million, 10 to the power 6. If it is part per ppb, then same thing you have to write, and 10 to the power 9. Sometime part per 1000 is also asked, same thing, into 10 to the power 3. So like that question can be asked from the stoichiometry chapter. Now coming to your redox part. So you can note down, students. Coming to your redox part, you have to keep in mind 2-3 things. First, redox reaction you must know Liouvre. Liouvre is loss of electron is oxidation, and gain of electron is reduction. And you must know that reducing agent undergo oxidation, oxidizing agent undergo reduction. So reducing agent loses electron during redox reaction or chemical reaction, oxidizing agent gains electron. So reducing agent undergo oxidation, oxidizing agent undergo reduction. And then you must have the concept of oxidation number. Suppose they ask you what is the oxidation number of chromium in CrO5. So if you see the structure, it is a beautiful butterfly structure. So if you know the structure, you can simply find that these are the peroxide oxygen -1 and this is -2. So total oxidation state is +6, not +10. Okay. If they ask you what is the oxidation state of sulfur in sulfuric acid, so 2 plus x minus 8 equal to 0, so x equal to +6. So the oxidation state of sulfur in sulfuric acid is +6. Suppose they ask you the oxidation state of nitrogen in nitrate, so x minus 6 equal to -1, so x equal to +5. So the oxidation state of nitrogen in NO3 minus is +5. Suppose they ask you what is the oxidation state of iron in this non-stoichiometric molecule, so simply we can write 0.94x minus 2 equal to 0. So 0.94x equal to 2, or x equal to 2 upon 0.94. If you solve this, you can write like this. 200 upon 94, you can write 100 by 47. So it will be nearly more than 2. So you can write 2 point something for 94.6. So 2.29 something, 2.029. So approximately 2.1 or something. So this way you can solve the question of stoichiometry. One more important question for redox reaction is how to balance the chemical reaction. So if you know how to balance the chemical reaction, chances are that they will ask you the stoichiometric coefficient. They will give you an equation where they will ask you to write the stoichiometric coefficient of in the terms x, y, z, like that they can ask you. So I am showing you one reaction. Suppose they give you to balance like Cr2O7 2 minus plus Fe2 plus give Cr3 plus Fe, suppose 3 plus. So here chromium is in +6 state and here is one chromium, so we have to multiply. Here it is in +6 state, so +12 +6. That means from here to here it is gaining 6 electron. That means it is undergoing a reduction, and from here to here it is losing 1 electron. That means if we multiply this with 6, then this will also be losing 6 electrons, so it will be balanced. Now here is 7 oxygen, so what we need to do is we have to add 7 water. The moment we add 7 water, what we get, 14 H plus is increased. So if we write 14 H plus, so this is the balanced equation. So they will give you write the equation like this. like this they will write what is x, what is y. So x, from here we are getting 6, so x is 6. If I write y, y equal to 14. So like that they can ask you the question. What is z? So z is here 2. So this way the question can be asked based on balancing. So this was the balancing based on oxidation number methods. If we want to see for suppose gas laws, states of matter, so what are the likely question you can expect? So states of matter, the likely question you will get is based on your PV equal to nRT, which is called the ideal gas equation. This is called the ideal gas equation. Then you can get postman is dirty, PM equal to DRT, and then you can write compressibility factor. It is the ratio of PV upon nRT. Or you can be asked van der Waals equation for real gases, P plus AN square by V square, V minus NB equal to nRT. So these questions can be asked. Other than they can ask you critical temperature, critical pressure, critical volume, etc. related, or Boyle's temperature. Boyle's temperature is that temperature at which a real gas behaves like ideal gas. They can ask you question based on Graham's law of diffusion. Graham's law of diffusion. Rate of diffusion is inversely proportional to square root of molecular mass. Rate of diffusion is inversely proportional to square root of density. They can ask you Dalton's law of partial pressure. Total pressure is the sum of partial pressure of all the gases present in the mixture at constant conditions. So these are the questions that is likely to be asked from states of matter. In few cases they can ask you question from viscosity and surface tension. So do remember that with increase in temperature both viscosity and surface tension decreases. So keep this in mind. Coming to your thermodynamics part, they can ask you about the laws of thermodynamics, like the first law. They can ask you about the laws of thermodynamics like delta U is equal to Q plus W, or Q minus P delta V, delta U. They can ask you question based on enthalpy change equal to internal energy change plus delta NGRT. They can ask you based on Gibbs energy change equal to enthalpy change minus T delta S in temperature into internal energy change. They can ask you based on Gibbs energy change equal to minus 2.303 RT log Kc. So they can ask you to find out the equilibrium constant. Even one question that generally they are asking in 12th means on the basis of 12th syllabus, that delta G standard is equal to minus NF E cell standard. Based on this they can give you the E cell and they can ask you the Gibbs energy. So for a spontaneous reaction Gibbs energy value is negative, and for non-spontaneous reaction the Gibbs energy value is positive, and at equilibrium the Gibbs energy value is 0. They can ask you what about the entropy. Entropy is Q reversible by temperature. What is the entropy unit? So joule per Kelvin, never kilojoule per Kelvin. So whenever this type of question is given, you have to make sure that you use the perfect unit to solve the question. They can ask you the statement. What is the statement of second law of thermodynamics? What is the statement of third law of thermodynamics? Or they can even ask you some calculation like enthalpy of formation, bond enthalpy, what is lattice enthalpy, what is bond Haber cycle. So based on this they can ask you question. Now coming to equilibrium. So equilibrium, what are the major chances is that they can ask you simple calculation based like equilibrium. So they can ask you like simple Le-Chatelier principle, application of Le-Chatelier's principle, or simple calculation based like equilibrium constant equal to concentration of C raised to the power C, concentration of D raised to the power D upon concentration of A raised to the power A, concentration of B raised to the power. They can ask you Kp equal to Kc into RT to the power delta N. So they can give you the equation and you have to find the delta N. Delta N is number of moles of product minus number of moles of reactant, but you have to take into consideration only the gaseous part. Now based on this Kp, Kc you can calculate. Now coming to the ionic equilibrium part, they can ask you what is Arrhenius concept of acid base. Particularly the question is asked from Bronsted-Lowry. So you have to keep in mind Bronsted-Lowry concept. So Bronsted-Lowry concept, they ask you what is the conjugate base, what is the conjugate acid, whether the conjugate base will be strong or weak. Similarly, they can ask you question based on pH. pH equal to minus log H plus ion concentration in moles per liter. They can ask you pH plus pOH equal to pKW, that is pH plus pOH equal to 14. Similarly, they can ask you Ostwald dilution law. So they can ask you some question based on solubility product, like for AB type of salt, KSP is equal to S square, or S is equal to root under KSP. This is for AB type salt. For different salt, there is a different formula for solubility and solubility product. They can ask you simple question based on buffer. They can ask you simple question based on buffer. So buffer solution, what is buffer solution? A solution which resists change in pH by addition of a small amount of acid or base. What is Henderson-Hasselbalch equation? So based on the simple concept, they can ask you ionic equilibrium. In my next video, I will tell you how to prepare for the inorganic part as well as the organic part, particularly concentrating on hydrogen peroxide, particularly its oxidizing and reducing nature. For organic, you have to remember the nomenclature, how to solve the nomenclature question, and particularly the reaction mechanism, which effect is there, inductive effect is there, or hyperconjugation is there, or resonance effect is there, or electromeric effect is there. Then you have to go for the types of organic reaction, like whether it is addition reaction or substitution. If it is substitution, then whether it is nucleophilic substitution, unimolecular or bimolecular, or it is through conjugate base, elimination reaction to conjugate base. So different types of reaction can be asked, and particularly you have to pay attention to the name reaction. Name reaction plays a huge role, because 1 or 2 questions likely that can be asked from name reaction, particularly the Riemer-Tiemann reaction, Clemenson reduction, Rosemont reduction, Helvolat-Zelensky reaction. So these are the topics that I will be covering up in my next video. Thank you, student, and all the best for your upcoming exam. Thank you.